Let's get started. And if people join late, like at 4:15 or 4:20, I'll just do a quick recap at that point and then just kind of continue on. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming. Thanks to Dan and eLearning for hosting me and letting me give a workshop. I think I know almost all of you. I think I've at least met all of you. So I'm Chris DeFraia, and I'm a genetics professor in the Department of Biological Sciences here at Ferris. And for the last 2 years or so, I learned a lot about video production because I started making teaching videos for my students as a way to flip my classroom. But I quickly found that there were many other benefits as well. So, I've been doing this for about 2 years. I've made about 50 or so of my own teaching videos. And I thought it might be a good idea, since I learned a lot during that time, to, kind of spread the knowledge around a little bit and teach other people what I've learned, because I know a lot of other faculty and teachers want to do this, but I don't want them to go through the same kind of steep learning curve that I had to go through. So I want to make it easier for everybody because I do think they can be effective. Now, I also did a faculty in residence at eLearning and worked on this during my sabbatical too. So I've got some time in on this stuff. But that being said, I'm not a video production expert. We have video production experts at Ferris, but in my opinion, it's a lot easier to be a good teacher first and then learn the video production than be a video production professional and then learn how to be a good teacher, right? So I'm the former. And so what that means, the consequence of that is that all of you as professors already have most of the skills to make a good teaching video. You just have to learn some of the video production stuff. And that's what I'm trying to help you learn. So I created basically a video course or a video series called Video Production for Teachers and Professors. And it's basically just videos, the entire course is, and it teaches someone with no video production experience and not much access to lots of fancy sound equipment and that kind of thing to make really high quality teaching videos for their students. So the point here is to allow professors themselves to make really good teaching videos. And I feel like that's really important because I see a lot of like high production value teaching videos online, but they have very, very little learning value for various reasons. And I think it's just because the people making them just aren't that experienced at teaching college students. So anyway, that's kind of my goal here. Now, let me see what I want to talk about next. Yeah, so the assumptions for these videos, the assumptions I make when producing these videos is that you have no video production experience, and that but you do have access to either a smartphone, a tablet, or both. And one of the videos does get into like what equipment you'll need depending on the type of video that you want to make. So I think that I'm just going to play for you. First, I'll just bring you to my YouTube channel, which is the link that I posted here. And I'm going to share my screen here. And I have to change my audio input here 1 second so you'll all be able to hear the video. So just give me a moment here. Okay, I was using an external microphone because the sound is better, but this is the only way you'll hear the video. So anyway. So I made a series of introductory videos for this video course, and oh bother, just had it up. Well, that's okay. We'll just do this. Okay, so here's my YouTube channel. I said, here's my YouTube channel. This worked 4 times just before this, so figured it wouldn't work now, but just give me a moment. Okay. So there's my YouTube channel. It's called Video Production for Teachers and Professors. The channel itself is called Teach with Video. And what I'm just going to show you now, I think, is just the introductory video for the channel. And then I think we'll go from there. So this channel has several playlists. One is an introductory playlist where it basically just tells you what the videos are going to teach you and why it's useful to use videos to teach. I'm not saying you should always use videos to teach everything, but if you pick your spots and use videos judiciously, it can be very, very good for learning. Second video in that goes over the different types of teaching videos. So what I'm going to do here is I'll just let you watch this introductory video, and then I'll go over the 3 different types of teaching videos that my playlists show you how to make. Okay. So, and this is always cringe inducing for me. It's really hard for me to watch myself on video, but if you do this kind of thing, it's something you got to get used to. So here we go. And please let me know if you can't hear this.
Hey.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Video Production for Teachers and Professors. I'm Chris DeFraia, and I'm actually not a video production professional. I'm a genetics professor, but for the last few years, I've learned a lot about video production. I've produced over 50 of my own videos, and I want to pass on what I've learned to all of you. Now, in the videos that follow, I'm going to teach you how to produce high-quality, great-looking videos for your students on your own, in your home or office, using evidence-based best practices for using video to teach. There's no prior experience needed, and you won't need a lot of expensive equipment. What you will need is a willingness to try something new and the resolve to take the video production process all the way through its conclusion. Now, there are 3 important questions we should address at this point. Are videos good for learning? What are the benefits of using videos to teach? And why should you make your own videos when there are so many already out there? Evidence suggests that videos are good for learning, provided students aren't overwhelmed with information, students are required to engage with the video, and students actually do something where they apply what they learn. Videos can help you flip your classroom, freeing up class time for problem solving, collaborative learning, data analysis, whatever skills you want your students to learn. Videos can also make for a more equitable classroom, allowing students to view the material at their own pace and go back to it if they need to. And if they miss class, they don't have to rely solely on textbook readings to catch up. Using best practices, video can also help manage cognitive load, making it easier for your students to learn. Also, consider this. You teach the same material every year, and every year you have to prepare to give the same lecture or lesson. But if you make a video and take care to make sure that it's usable in the future, you can spend less time preparing for class once your videos are made. So, why make your own videos? First, learning is social, and people like to learn from people they know. Your students will be more engaged with a video that has their teacher in it. Second, other people that produce videos don't know your students or their specific needs, but you do, and you can tailor your videos to meet those needs. You can choose what to include or leave out and cover the material at an appropriate level of difficulty. Third, you can make connections with material you covered previously in the class. This is harder to do using videos made by others because they might not cover the topics in your class in the same order. So once again, welcome to my video series. In the next video, I'll give you more information about the 3 different types of videos I can teach you to make and the different amounts of time and equipment required for each. I'll also give you a little bit of a sales pitch and discuss why I think this video series, which is completely free by the way, is a good way for busy teachers and professors to learn video production. Now, before I go, let me leave you with this thought. Production of high quality, great looking educational videos doesn't have to be limited to elite universities with big video production budgets. We can produce great videos for our students, and we should. Now let's get to work.
Okay, so now I'll spare you the sales pitch because I'm assuming that you're already somewhat interested in perhaps using videos. And instead, I'm just going to show you the 3 different types of videos that this video series teaches you how to make. And each type is covered by a different playlist. The first type is what I call a pencil and paper playlist. Video, excuse me. And it's basically just using your phone as a dot cam. You just record yourself writing on a piece of paper with a pencil while the phone records your voice. Very, very simple. It's basically just using your phone as a dot cam. And that's the easiest to make, but also I think highly effective. Second type is what I call a basic screencast, where you're essentially using a whiteboard program to produce a teaching video. And the whiteboard program I use is Explain Everything, but a whiteboard program is basically, kind of a fancier version of, Microsoft Paint or something like that. It has a lot of features that are used for teaching, but it's basically a drawing and drawing program that you can also use images with. An advanced screencast is similar to the whiteboard basic screencast type of video, but with a higher production value. You're actually writing and editing a script, recording your audio recording your audio and visuals separately, and doing some video editing. So that takes a bit more time and is more akin to making a movie, but it does have a higher learning value. So that's the type of thing that you don't really want to make during the semester while you're prepping as you go, especially under COVID conditions. But it's the kind of thing that can be nice if you have some time, for example, in the summer, to spend some extra time on your teaching materials. So I'm just going to show you an example of each of these, just about a 1 or 2 minute section of each video, just so you can get a flavor of what they're about. And I'll just fast forward here a little bit. We'll start here.
Condensed chromosomes are just chromosomes where their DNA is very much just spread out around the nucleus of the cell. And there's very good reason for this. The DNA of chromosomes, when a cell is not dividing, in other words, during most of its life cycle, that DNA needs to be available and accessible to proteins that carry out transcription. In other words, those are the proteins that carry out gene expression and that are necessary for proteins that these genes on these chromosomes encode to be made. So that decondensation is necessary for the normal expression of a lot of genes. So that's why they're decondensed most of the time. Now, during cell division, chromosomes and their DNA get moved. So the reason that chromosomes package DNA like this into the chromosome structures that we're used to seeing is for the purpose of moving them into the 2 daughter cells. So it's basically to make them easier to move during cell division. And that's what we'll look at next. So let's look at what chromosomes look like during cell division, either during mitosis or meiosis. Okay. Now, early on in cell division, these decondensed chromosomes undergo condensation, resulting in this type of structure, a condensed chromosome. And these are the chromosomes that you're probably accustomed to seeing. And this chromosome.
Okay, so I think that's good enough to get an idea of this type of video. Very, very easy to make. You can start making it right away. And then I will show you the last one here. So now let's take a look at a basic screencast. And there's a couple of different ways you could do this. There's two sort of styles of this type of teaching video. One is more akin to doing a PowerPoint presentation, where you're basically just describing images that have been imported into the whiteboard program. The second style is what I call a draw and talk video, where you're actually drawing pictures and writing down as you're talking. So I make both of them just depending on what kind of content I'm teaching. This is
some
more
of the surrounding tissue.
This particular video is more of a PowerPoint style of teaching video.
The various parts of the carpel, which is the female part of the flower. So here is one carpel. And as you can see, there are various parts. The top part here is called the stigma, and the stigma has a sticky substance on it that the pollen grain can stick to during pollination. Next, we have this neck-looking structure here, and that's the style of the carpel. And down here, within the larger portion of the carpel, we have the ovary. And within the ovary, we have several ovules. And the ovules are the structures that house the female gamete, the egg. Now, once the pollen has landed on the stigma, cells within the stigma will release various compounds and cause the pollen grain to germinate and form a pollen tube. And the pollen grain will then release the two sperm cells that it has within it, and those two sperm cells will travel down the pollen tube to the ovule. So the sperm cells eventually make their way all the way down the pollen tube towards the...
All right, so that's kind of a basic screencast. Sorry it took me so long to maximize the view there. Forgot to do that. And then here's an example of what I call an advanced screencast.
Hey everyone! In this video, I'll be discussing double fertilization and seed development. Together, these two processes result in the production of seeds. Seeds represent an important adaptation in the evolutionary history of plants. But perhaps more importantly, seeds make up a majority of humankind's food supply, so it's not a terrible idea for us to know a little more about them. Now let's get to it. In the last few videos, you saw how the male gametophyte, pollen, is produced in the anther, and how the female gametophyte, the egg sac, is produced within the ovule. The pollen grain has two sperm cells and a vegetative nucleus. The egg sac has 7 cells, but in this video, we're mainly concerned with the central cell and the egg cell. The central cell nucleus is effectively diploid, and the egg cell nucleus is haploid. In this video, we'll finish up our discussion of plant reproduction by examining double fertilization and seed development. We'll be addressing 2 questions. How does double fertilization occur? And what are the functions of the fertilized cells in seed development? The first step in double fertilization involves pollen being shed from the anther and moving to the stigma. The pollen can be delivered by wind, insects, or in other ways. Here, pollen is deposited onto the stigma of the seed flower, but pollen from different flowers or even from different plants can also make their way to the stigma. Once there, the pollen germinates. Just as a seed germinates by sending a root down into the soil, pollen germinates by sending out a pollen tube down into the carpel. The growth of the pollen tube is coordinated by the vegetative nucleus. and carried out by the proteins present in the vegetative cell.
Okay. So I'll just kind of scroll. Well, it's not really going to let me scroll through, but well, let me see. No, that's okay. All right, so that's an example of an advanced screencast. As you can see, it's just a bit more engaging than just talking about an image, but it really depends on the content that you're teaching. And let me stop the screen share at this point. So, I'm not saying that your videos should look like this. These are just examples that I made using the three different processes that I describe in the three different playlists that are on my YouTube channel. So, that's kind of, those are a few examples. You can check out more videos on the YouTube channel at your leisure. It's always there. That's the nice thing about, YouTube as a video repository. It's public and always available. Now, I also realize that you may not be interested in any of these three types of videos. So maybe you have something completely different in mind. Maybe you just want to make like a talking head video, which is basically just what I'm doing now, talking into the camera, right? And I have a video on how to do that as well. So one of the and I'll repost this for those that have just joined us. One of the files that I posted here in the chat section is essentially just a master table of contents for all the videos that I made. So for example, if you are only interested in making just like a better talking head video and aren't really interested in doing a pencil and paper video or a whiteboard video, you just want to do this kind of thing, you can easily find the video that deals with that in the table of contents. So, so I'm going to go ahead and repost that here because we did have a few people just join us. Okay, so there it is. So you can look that over at your leisure as well. All right, now I'm going to see what's next here. So I think what we'll do at this point is just to get you all thinking about how you might want to use video in your class. I'd like everyone, if you would, to select one learning objective from one of your classes. In other words, one thing that you might want to teach using video. And in the chat in Zoom, write down what you want to teach with video and what kind of video you think might be best for teaching that content. And I'll actually write this in here so everyone has someone to look at. So write down one learning objective. And this could be, something really, really short, maybe something that takes like 5 or 10 minutes to teach in an actual class. Write down one learning objective and the type of video you think would be best to teach it. And it doesn't have to be one of the three, types of videos that I showed you. It can be, anything that you can think of. So basically just what you want to teach and how you want to teach it using video. So I'll give you guys a couple of minutes. All right, So we got some responses here. And a lot of, it's not like you have to perfectly match a type of video with, a learning objective. The type of video that you use probably has more to do with your teaching style than the actual learning objective. Of course, you can use different types of videos to teach different learning objectives, but yeah. So let's take an example here. So and I'm going to pick on you because you're in my department. So cellular respiration. So that's an example of a process with a lot of moving parts, right? Lots of different proteins involved. It's a really complicated pathway. So you have a lot of content, right, to deliver. Now, I would guess, just as an example and off the top of my head, I think the way that I would probably approach that, because I teach, various metabolic pathways as well, is I would probably start with, whatever molecule is being respired, if you will, and then have the little proteins come in and act upon it, and have that pathway appear as the cellular respiration process progresses. So I would probably use some kind of animation, right, to show that. And you basically just have to make that, write down what you want to say, then just say it into a microphone, and then just have the various proteins appear at each point in your audio recording. It's actually really straightforward using a whiteboard program like Explain Everything. And it will seem like this super cool kind of movie that took a long time to make, but really doesn't. So it's really straightforward to kind of have that content appear right as you say it, right? That's one of the strengths of the screencasting program. These other ones are really interesting. Integration by parts. I don't know what that is. Jerome Truba, what is integration? Oh, integration, like mathematical integration, because you're a math person. Integration, I get it. I remember, it's been a while, Jerome. It's been a while since calculus. Yeah, and you wrote down with a face. So, those talking head face-to-face videos, I think are really useful, both as a way to preview what you're about to talk about, review what you've already talked about, and also just as a way to kind of remain connected with your students. It also just helps you get better on camera, because that is one thing I will say. It took me a really, really long time to get even that comfortable talking into the camera. It just takes practice. And I go over, kind of how to make yourself comfortable doing that in some of the videos. So yes, hello. Oh, my cat just busted open the door. Yeah, okay. Go away. Sorry about that. So at this point, I'd like to just open up the floor to questions. Excuse me one second. And I'll answer any questions that you have about, video production. And feel free to, type them in the chat or just, say them out loud.
So if we're really not working with drawing anything by hand,
Mhm.
Is there really any advantage to, you know, using anything, besides low tech like Snagit for videos,
Yeah, so
the straight screencast?
right. So if your goal is to show what's on the computer screen, so I think you said you were gathering information of some kind, right? What was it here?
Yeah, just how to use a database.
Right. Yeah, I teach my students how to use PubMed, and I do a screen capture as well. No, you don't need a whiteboard program and it's not really for that, to capture that. So yeah, you can definitely use Snagit. That's perfectly fine. I like to use a program called Camtasia. And that's because it's really nice to have. I don't use Snagit. Does Snagit have much of an editing feature?
It has some, and I always get them confused between Camtasia and Captivate. Which one's the Adobe product? And
Captivate. Yeah, Captivate is Camtasia, I feel, is a little more user-friendly for people who've never done this before. It has a little bit less steep of a learning curve, I think. I use Camtasia for that reason. But yeah, you can use either. Screen capture is really, if all you want to do is capture your screen and talk about it, any of those things will do. I like to use Camtasia because it has a really nice kind of video editing feature. And so if you kind of screw up a little bit, you can just go back and you don't have to re-record the entire thing. You can probably do that with Captivate too, I'm guessing.
is Camtasia free?
It's a free trial, and it's something like, I think the education license is like 100 or 200, but then you buy it and you own it type of thing. So I bought mine with my PDI funds from advising.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. So I bought actually a lot of my stuff with my PDI funds from advising. a lot of my sound equipment. I will say that, like, everything that you could possibly want for doing this won't cost you more than, like, well, if you already have a tablet, it won't cost you more than like $400 or $500 total, and that's if you buy everything. But you can get started for basically nothing. Yeah, and Apple Pencil is very, very key. So I have one myself, and yep, here's the box. Don't know where. Oh, here's the pencil. What's really key for doing a whiteboard video is a really, really good stylus. The crappy styluses are really, really crappy and will make your video look terrible, as Jerome is nodding his head because you've learned from experience. Yeah, I have too. So it's worth springing for an Apple Pencil. I have a whole video on just equipment. That's the second video in the introductory video series. So you can check that out. But yeah, just to go back to your question, if you want to just make a screencast and teach someone how to use a database, any of those programs for sure will get you there. The main thing is I've noticed that in screen captures, though, the sound can be sometimes too low. And if you're doing a screen capture, and this goes for really any video, it's worth buying a better microphone, even if it's just like one for, $15, $20. Like, I bought this thing for, this is a Blue Yeti condenser microphone. It's an external microphone, and I'll just show you the difference in sound quality. So right now I'm just using my built-in microphone for my laptop. And now this is my Blue Yeti microphone, right? So you should be able to hear the difference pretty well. It's almost like I'm in the room. And the sound quality is the single biggest thing that really adds to the professionalism of a video. So, if you want to buy this thing for like $150, and I bought the stand for like $50 more, I highly recommend that, even if you're just making screencasts. It'll make your video seem a lot more professional. Yeah, so thanks for that question. Other questions, and literally anything.
Chris, I've got one on the paper and pencil video. What were you using to hold your camera or the phone?
I used tape to. So to hold the phone up, I used this smartphone holder. So the smartphone goes in here, and this attaches to it. You shouldn't attach it to your desk because it'll shake while you're writing, but I just attached it to a shelf next to my desk. And this is actually all mentioned in the videos, in the pencil and paper videos. But yeah, and this is like, I don't know, $15 or something. And what was the other question? Oh, and I used tape. Literally, I just have my box of stuff here. I used painter's tape to hold down the piece of paper so it wouldn't move while I was writing. And then I just used my smartphone video editing feature just in the Photos app to crop out the parts that I didn't want to show. So I describe all of that in the pencil and paper video.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chris, do you use an iPad to make videos?
Yeah. Yes.
So, yeah. Have you ever experienced severe lag between audio and video?
Yes, and I'll show you how you fix it.
Restarting is the only thing that's worked for me.
This right here.
Ooh, look at that funny thing.
This is a metronome.
Okay.
So the metronome, this you have to do, the way I fix it is I fix it in post-production using video editing. I use Camtasia. But you don't have to use Camtasia. You can use any like basic video editing program. And yeah, you get audio lag, right? Because if, and it's not just iPad, it's lots of, tablets and like combinations of microphones and, various other pieces of hardware. So at the beginning of each video, and I should say the lag isn't usually that bad. It's not more than like 1/10 of a second typically. Sometimes it can get really bad, but you get really bad.
5 to 6 second lag.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's pretty bad.
So, so what I do at the beginning of each video is I turn on the metronome. And the reason I use the metronome is because it lights up and beeps at the exact same time. So it's a way to synchronize visual and sound. And it's the same thing that, at the beginning of the movies, they have the beep, or the old fashioned movies. You guys are old enough to probably remember this. Beep, 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 beep at the beginning of the movie. That's what that's for. So you just turn this on, and I just literally do this for like 3 beeps. And then after I've made the video, I separate the video and audio tracks, and I move the audio track to synchronize to the video. And I use the beeps to do that. So I describe that in one of the videos in the advanced screencast. It's video 12 is where I describe that. But yeah, I've definitely grappled with that. I've tried other solutions, and this is the best I've come up with. Yeah, but it can be really annoying, especially if you're doing like a talking head like this, and the sound is not synchronized with your mouth. It's super distracting. So yeah, I use that to fix that. Other questions? I will say I think the single most important thing for using video to teach is actually not the video itself. It's whatever activity the students have to do that accompanies the video. Because if your students are just passively watching a video, they're not learning much, right? They have to be doing something. So there's various ways that you can address this. What I do is I build a learning guide. I make a learning guide, which is kind of like a skeletal notes that goes along with the video. And I have the students fill it in as they go along through the video. And they actually submit that, and they get like 1 class point, towards their grade for that. So they have a little bit of incentive. And I found that to be working pretty well. I'm doing that this semester, and all of my students are watching all of the videos all the way through. And I can tell that because Canvas has an analytics feature that you can, see who's watching the video and how long are they actually watching it for. Now, it doesn't, of course, tell you how closely they're paying attention to the video. They could be in a different room, but that's the best we got right now. Unless you want to be super creepy and like have, install spyware that follows their eyes or some stupid thing like that, right? But yeah, so, it's important that they do something where they use the knowledge of the content that you're presenting in the video. And I have them fill in notes. So I have a learning guide that goes along with each video. The skeletal notes is one part of it, and they have a few questions at the end of it that they have to fill in as well. And those questions are really like basic questions. They just test if they actually remember what was in the video. So like the very bottom of Bloom's pyramid here. And then I do, the more advanced stuff, applying problem solving type stuff in my genetics class in class. So I have a flipped class format for that reason.
Chris, do you see this equally useful from 100 level to 400 level?
I do. Yeah. I'm going to use it for my 400 level class, my biology 460 class, which I'm actually not teaching this year, but I'll probably teach next year, where that's our capstone class. There's no textbook. Students are presenting primary literature and, communicating. It's a very, very, very difficult class. And yeah, I'm going to make some videos eventually to show people how to read and communicate primary literature. Also, how to use PubMed as a database, which we talked about before. I'm going to make a screen capture video for that. But one really nice feature is, and I just do this in Canvas actually for using video to teach is when I read their paper summaries, I plan on just, instead of giving them like a lot of written feedback, like a lot of red pen on the page that I know they won't read, I'm going to just make like a 1 to 2 minute video, because there's that feature in Canvas. Like you can click the button when you're grading it and give them like video feedback on their paper, and just talk to them for like 1 or 2 minutes and tell them how they can improve their their paper summary, for example. So I think that's a really, really useful feature that I haven't used yet, but I want to. And I think that's really appropriate for those upper level classes where it's more project based and they really need that like individually individual feedback.
I asked because I find my 400 level students are more likely to actually watch the video. The 100 level, which don't want to as much. The 400 kind of get that flipped classroom, like we have to discuss stuff in class. This basic concept, perfect for a video. But in 100 level, they're kind of like, isn't it your job to teach me in class?
Right. So I'm teaching a 100 level non-majors course right now, Biology 101. And I haven't had that much pushback because the videos are what the homework is on, right? It's not like this extraneous thing that they feel like is extra work, they have to submit the notes that they take from that video for credit. And then they have to do the homework questions based on the video as well. So I think it's a matter of convincing the students of the utility and necessity of the videos, while also at the same time holding them accountable in some way. So there has to be some kind of incentive to watch those videos. And for my non-majors class, it's a 5-point incentive. For my upper level class, it's a 1-point incentive. So, I'm not as concerned with like grades per se in the lower level class because, these people are not going to be geneticists. They're not going to work in a lab. This is for, scientific literacy. So, it kind of depends on the class and it kind of depends on the nature of your students, but there really does have to be some kind of incentive, I found.
Chris, you had mentioned having the document that guides the students, helps keep them on task. I think that's linked under one of your videos. Which video? Where can we find that?
Yeah.
Example?
Yeah, let me bring up, I call it a learning guide, which is the combination of skeletal notes and just a few questions based on the video. And excuse me, let me bring that up here. So that is, and I'm just gonna, so in the, it's in both the basic and advanced screencast playlists. In the basic screencast playlist, it's video 8, creating a learning guide. And in the advanced screencast playlist, it's video 10 of 13. And in the table of contents there, I have timestamps for every topic of each video. So if you want to, so one of the videos, for example, covers, one of the things it covers is Creative Commons licenses. So I like all my videos to be open source. So that means I can't use any images from a textbook or a publisher, right? Because those are all copyrighted. So because I want my courses to actually be public eventually, not just for my students. So I use only images with Creative Commons licenses. And in one of my videos, I actually go through what Creative Commons licenses are, how to use them, and how to filter your search, both using Google and Wikipedia for various, Creative Commons licensed media. So, but if you were only interested in viewing that part of that video, you would just view, you could look at the timestamps in the description of that video, and it would tell you like at exactly what time in that video I talk about Creative Commons licenses. So you shouldn't have to search around too much when looking for something in this video series.
Do you mainly use YouTube for as your platform for doing videos? Have you tried Studio?
So for my students, I use Studio right now for Canvas. Yeah,
Okay.
I use Studio, and I find it works pretty well. I did have to email eLearning last year when I started uploading videos, because I had to ask them to up my upload limit because there was an upload limit, and I ran up against that pretty fast, but they were, that was no problem. Once they did that, I was able to upload as many videos as I needed to. But yeah, so I use, I use Studio to upload the videos, and then I just put the videos right within my lesson, right within Canvas. Yeah. Yeah, so I found that to work pretty well. I don't send my students to YouTube. I like to, I've kind of debated about that, whether I want to do that or not. But I think it's a dicey proposition because YouTube is very, very, very distracting.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Yeah, and they'll go off on a tangent down a rabbit hole that you don't necessarily want. So
yeah, I mean, even when I'm on YouTube, like posting my own videos, I get distracted. So it's like, yeah, I mean, YouTube was designed by really, really smart psychologists who know how to distract people. You know that probably better than most. Same with Facebook, right? So, yeah, no, the reason I posted these videos on YouTube is because I wanted them to be available to everybody, and that was really the only way to do that. Because not everybody, can get into Canvas, and I wasn't really happy with Canvas's public facing interface, so I'd rather just do it on YouTube.
Right. So I actually used YouTube for some of its editing features for Zoom videos that I did. I understood you could, cut some things out or something like at the beginning, and so that it was more on point if I wanted to reuse something that I did last semester, because I only meet with them once a week as opposed to twice a week. So it was at least useful for that. It was a free way for me to do some basic editing.
Yeah, for sure. I should mention that for those of you who want to do a whiteboard video, who want to draw things or do like a PowerPoint style of video and describe images, Explain Everything and most whiteboard programs do have some degree of video editing, like you can cut out certain points, but you can't do something like take a piece and then put it over here, right? It's pretty limited. So for that, you need, and I don't think YouTube can do that either. So it really is pretty limited. And in one of the videos, you saw that I like sped up the writing as I was talking. That's the kind of thing that you need a video editing program to do. And Camtasia is really good. Like it's very just point and click. And it, I learn new things all the time, but like it was pretty easy to get started. I just viewed a couple of tutorials online, and matter of fact, one of my videos is basically a tutorial for Camtasia. I also use an audio editing program called Audacity, which is free. And if you want to make yourself sound better, and it only takes like really a couple of minutes to do, one of my videos in the advanced screencast is also a tutorial on how to do that with Audacity. So those are videos 12 and 13 respectively in the advanced screencast videos. Yeah, but like I can't emphasize enough the importance of sound quality and, making your video seem just a lot more professional. And also it's better for your ego. Like it's just better when you just feel better when you sound better. You can also, I don't want to get too much into the weeds on sound stuff, but when you're recording, at least when you're first recording, if you're using, an external microphone or something, or even not, it's really good to listen to yourself while you're recording. So you can just plug in like a pair of headphones into whatever your device you're using as your microphone, and you actually hear how you sound. And that can really help you kind of like find your voice a little bit and also just get more comfortable. So it's something I do before I start recording, every audio track that I do. Let's see. Yeah. So any other questions, guys? This has been fun.
Well, thank you for the useful set of videos.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm glad it's done. It was a lot of work. I feel like I was writing a novel. But yeah, I'm happy it's out there. And if you know anybody else who, oh hi, it's my daughter. She knows it's time to go. Come here. so if you know anybody else who think this kind of thing will be useful, feel free to send them the links, spread the word around, and get the word out.
Thank you.
Sure thing, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thanks. Bye.